Hello and welcome to Just a Guy with your social educator, your LLB, your loony left bully. That's right, it's me, Mike D, Mike Duckerberg. All right, how's everybody doing today? Good deal, guys. Well, we are back, feeling much better. Sorry, want to readjust this just a hair. I apologize about that. Today, we're going to be looking at the interim report and the failures and politicization of the January 6th Select Committee. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in there. We're going to take a deep dive into it. We'll go through quite a bit of it today. We may finish up the rest on a next podcast. We may just stop it there depending on how everything goes. I apologize. Forgot to turn off my notifications. There we go. And this has the loony left in a tizzy. This report is something they don't want to see. This report is something they don't want to admit to. In fact, MSN reporter, her name is Lisa Mascaro, Mascaro. She is completely petrified of this. She wrote an entire article, and the whole thing is just lies upon lies upon lies. In fact, she starts out by basically saying that this is there to help Trump and his push to have people enter the White House and cause a riot. We already know that's not true, but in her exact words, again, because you know Mike Zuckerberg only speaks in facts, guys. Miss Mascaro or Mascaro or Mascara or whatever her name is, this MSN reporter with her panties in a bunch here, she says, and I quote, "Now, Chairman Loudermilk's interim report intentionally disregards the truth and the Select Committee's tremendous weight of evidence." Sorry, I always cough when I see BS. But anyway, and instead fabricates lies and defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up what Donald Trump did. Let me tell you guys, we are going to take this entire episode today and show you how each and every one of those words in there, each and every statement out of Miss Mascaro's little laptop or computer is an out and out lie. She is nothing but a leftist, loony, left, socialist, communist, Marxist propagandist. That's right, I'm calling Miss Mascaro out from MSN because she ain't going to say a damn thing to me because she knows I'm right. And I'm going to detail everything in there that shows that. So let's start with the Select Committee itself. Okay, looking at this interim report, they go piece by piece. It's 128 pages total, so it's quite lengthy. We're going to go through about the first 95 pages here today. The Select Committee itself. Chairman Loudermilk says, as part of its investigation, the subcommittee learned that the Select Committee failed to archive or provide the subcommittee with any of its video recordings of witness interviews. As many as 900 interview summaries or transcripts, which is more than 1 terabyte of digital data. Okay? So what they're saying there is the subcommittee said that they had 4 terabytes of data. When Chairman Loudermilk went in, they could only find 3. And through their report, they found out that 1 terabyte of digital data that's missing is about as many as 900 interview summaries or transcripts. Okay? So they're obviously hiding something. Okay, you don't just miss a terabyte full of information. Now, I'm no computer guy, but I put all of the videos on a terabyte external hard drive, and that holds a lot of information. So if you're missing a terabyte full of information, you are hiding a lot. So right there, instead fabricates lies and defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up. There's a cover up there, Miss Mascaro, and it's by your loony left friends. Look at that. I'm not even 5 minutes into this. We've already destroyed your proposition there. Your whole thesis of what's going on, Miss Mascaro, is a lie. It didn't even take me 2 minutes to destroy it. So maybe, you know what? Have MSN call me, Mike D, Mike Zuckerberg. I'll write real, factual information for them. They won't do that, though. Why? Because they are part of the loony left, socialist, demolist, Marxist party. So they ain't going to give me a job. I already know that. That's why I'm sitting here educating each and every one of you, social educating each and every one of you, so you could be social educators, right? So now the documents that were archived, get this. You're going to love this. The Select Committee delivered more than 100 encrypted, password-protected documents and never provided the passwords. So again, they're going to go ahead and encrypt 100 different documents and go, you know what? Oh, we're going to put a password on it, and we're not going to let you know what that is. Have a good time trying to figure out what it is, though. I mean, eventually they'll probably be able to figure out what the encryption is because they're probably going to get some good people on there. But as we go through, you're going to realize they don't have a lot of friends in this. So it might be a little bit more difficult until President Trump comes in and he gets people in there like Kash Patel and others, Peter Hegseth, to come in and actually straighten this crap up. We might actually be able to figure out what that is. Okay. So they intentionally encrypted information with passwords so you could not see it. All right. So right off the rip, Chairman Loudermilk's setting up the entire thing, showing you that they're not disclosing, hiding, or encrypting information. If you're not disclosing, you're hiding, or encrypted information, guess what you're probably doing there, Miss Mascaro? Your loony left friends are probably lying. Just like their entire Dem administration did. From APM Joe to the Bordazar on down. Hell, you got the guy, Homeland Security. His name is Alejandro Mayorkas. Not really, but that's what I call him. Right? So we shouldn't be surprised. But the one person that's going to be in a lot of trouble is Representative Liz Cheney. Now, possible charges might be brought upon her for witness tampering and hiding evidence and destroying evidence. So these are serious accusations. Now, again, she's innocent till proven guilty. I'm not part of the loony left. I'm not going to sit down and go, you know what? You're automatically guilty because I don't like you. It's not how it works here. That's not how the Constitution works. I'm still a defender of the Constitution, and regardless if I like you or not, she's innocent until proven guilty. Now, as we're going to discuss, it looks like she's not innocent, but yet we still have to go with that until we have solid, hard proof. But at the end of this, I want you guys to let me know. What do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know. Do you think Liz Cheney is looking guilty, or is she looking innocent? Again, we're not done yet, so we can't render a verdict or anything like that, but I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments below, please. Back on May 12th, though, 2021, Representative Cheney proudly stated, and I'm going to quote her, "I will do everything I can to ensure that the former President Trump never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office." Let me read that again. "I will do everything I can to ensure that former President Trump never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office." That's a powerful statement, considering she's going to go on to become the vice chair of the Select Committee. Okay, so you already know what path she's going to take. Now, it just so happens that 6 weeks later, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she named Representative Cheney as one of her 8 selections. And a founding member of the quote-unquote partisan Select Committee. There was nothing partisan about that committee. Nothing at all. Okay, they broke so many House rules putting this committee together. We're not even going to go there because that'd be a whole other show right there alone. But before the Select Committee published its final report, 15 current and former staffers approached the Washington Post. And what they wanted to do was express their deep frustration with Representative Cheney's heavy-handed oversight on the Select Committee's work. What were they upset about? What were they frustrated about? The committee staff members were floored when they told the final report would focus almost entirely on President Trump. Now, all this stuff is going on. People are in the Capitol building. People are damaging the Capitol building, stealing stuff from the Capitol building. They're, AOC said she almost died when she wasn't even there. So, whatever. She's probably going to the Electoral College and getting her bachelor degree. Okay? But all this stuff is going on, and Representative Cheney is solely focusing this entire investigation on getting President Trump. So you had 15 current and former staff members approach the Washington Post to call her BS. Okay? Now, they did have one-star witness. Out of all the hundreds of different interviews they did have one-star witness. This star witness, her name is Cassidy Hutchinson. At the time, she was a 24-year-old special assistant to the president and coordinator for legislative affairs for the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. Okay, so she worked inside with President Trump. Okay, she held that position on January 6, 2021 as well. AOC definitely needs to fill drinks. It's what she's best at. Definitely. I heard she wasn't even a very good bartender, by the way. So, I don't know. She might get a little confused there, too. But Miss Hutchinson actually continued to work as coordinator for President Trump, official, taxpayer-funded post-presidential office. Okay? So what she does is she teams up here. We'll learn a little bit more about this in detail, but she teams up with Representative Cheney and going out and spreading vicious rumors and lies about President Trump. And then she continues to work for him from in the post presidential office from January 20th to April 1st. Okay. Mark's funny. But so she goes out after January 6th. She continues to work for the President Trump until April 1st. Although she's sitting here talking about how horrible of a person he is, okay? Now, her salary is about $90,000 for that work, and according to the Government Services Administration. So you look at her salary, it's about $90,000, all right? Now, when she was doing all this, she proclaimed that she was disgusted by President Trump's actions and called his activity unpatriotic and un-American. But again, she continued work for President Trump for about 9 weeks after this. So if she was disgusted by President Trump and he was unpatriotic and un-American, why are you staying on till April 1st? Or roughly April 1st. Okay, right there, that should raise some red flags. All right? Now, with the events of January 21st, or January 6, 2021, Hutchinson was one of those interviews, one of the individuals, again, that was one of the witnesses. Now, she couldn't afford an attorney, all right? But she was so disgusted by President Trump, who was un-American and unpatriotic, that she actually contacted two close allies of President Trump in the names of Eric, I'm going to mispronounce him, I'm sorry, Hirschman and Alex Cannon. Okay, these are two close allies of President Trump. She's so disgusted by President Trump that she actually reaches out to President Trump's friends because she can't afford an attorney. So they actually help her secure attorney, Stefan Passantino, at no cost, so pro bono. Okay? So this disgusting, unpatriotic, un-American president, she reaches out to his friends. They find her a lawyer, and Stefan Passantino, at the do it pro bono. Okay? Now with this, the subcommittee had uncovered evidence of secret conversations between Hutchinson, a former White House employee called Alyssa Farah Griffin, and conversations between Hutchinson and Representative Cheney without the knowledge of Mr. Passantino, Hutchinson's attorney. Okay? This is where the witness tampering comes in, guys. So what's going on is she's having conversations, Miss Hutchinson is having conversations with her friend and White House employee, Alyssa Farah Griffith. And they're doing like third party communication with Representative Cheney. So Hutchinson would talk to Miss Griffith, and then Miss Griffith would talk to Representative Cheney. And after a while, we're going to find out that they just leave Miss Griffith out, and the communication just becomes direct. Now, in any other place, this is considered witness tampering. She's not allowed to have communication, Miss Cheney, in any way, shape, or form with Miss Hutchinson without her lawyer's knowledge. But all this was going on backdoor secret conversations to set stuff up. So this is one of the charges that may be brought against Representative Cheney, is witness tampering in this case. And when you look at the report, they actually have text messages and everything else. I'm not going to read them to you, but they actually have the physical text messages from Miss Hutchinson to Miss Griffin, and then later on, text messages from Miss Hutchinson to Representative Cheney. So they have all this data. So she can't deny it. And even in their books, Miss Cheney's book and Miss Hutchinson's book, they both say in the end they start talking to each other directly. Now the time frame is different. Miss Cheney says that she started talking to her directly when she didn't have a lawyer later on in the depositions. But Miss Hutchinson says that it was during that time frame. Okay, and when you look at the text messages, it's definitely on the side of Miss Hutchinson, showing that Representative Cheney had either third party or direct contact with Miss Hutchinson without her lawyer's knowledge. Okay. Now, for nearly a month, Griffin acted as the intermediary between Miss Cheney and Miss Hutchinson, like I said before, right? Now, about a year later, like I said, Miss Hutchinson freely stated that she had, and I'm going to tell her own words, back-channeled for a third interview without my former attorney's knowledge at the time with one of my good friends, Alyssa Farah Griffin. So right in her book, it says right there, she back-channeled for a third interview without my former attorney's knowledge at the time with one of my good friends, Alyssa Farah Griffith. So she's coming out admitting that there's possible witness tampering from Representative Cheney. Okay? Now, well, they could discuss anything. They could, discuss maybe Dairy Queen, or maybe it's football season, maybe the big football fans, who knows, right? But nope. They discussed the optics of Hutchinson's leaking new information to the press instead of directly testifying to the select committee. So what they were doing was the three of them were colluding together to go, listen, all this new information you have, Miss Hutchinson, we don't want to bring it to the select committee because it's damning to President Trump. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the press. And Miss Representative Cheney helped facilitate this because obviously she's a United States Congresswoman, so she can get in contact with the press very, very easily. Right? So they facilitated this. So instead of going to the select committee, all this went straight to the press. And of course, the Communist Socialist Marxist media wing is going to pick this up and run with it. Because we all know Orange Man bad. And if they can find even an inkling of anything negative to say about President Trump, you know they're going to run with it. And that's exactly what they did. Okay? So, the new information. False information, by the way. Hutchinson claimed that the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, his name is Anthony Ornato, told her that Trump lunged towards the driver of his car after Trump requested to go to the Capitol and was denied. So what she's saying is, Deputy Chief of Staff Anthony Ornato told her that President Trump lunged at his driver and said, we need to go to the Capitol, even though he was just denied the opportunity to go to the Capitol because he's no longer president, because, it's inauguration, President Biden's coming in. So he's no longer president. That's what she claims. Now, all of her new information that goes on, it's all third party. She wasn't witness to any of it. So it's all It's all hearsay and everything else. Okay. Now, this is easy to look up. It was directly refuted by the United States Secret Service uh, that were in the vehicle with President Trump, and it was also refuted by Ornato himself. So not only did the Secret Service that was in the vehicle with President Trump say no such thing happened, Ornato himself said no such thing happened, nor did I tell Miss Hutchinson that anything happened. Okay? Now, after her third transcribed interview, because she's already done two, this is coming up on her third, Hutchinson now reaches out to Representative Cheney directly. Remember, I said she's going to stop going through Miss Griffin as an intermediary or a third party. Right now, she's just reaching out directly to Miss Cheney. Okay? Now, at this point in time, she's still represented by her attorney, Mr. Passantino. I'm going to get that right one of these days, right? And Representative Cheney knew this. She knows that she's still represented by him, okay? But she still continued to talk directly with Miss Hutchinson for days, regardless of what's going to happen. Now, here's the thing, guys. Miss Cheney can't claim ignorance, okay? Because Representative Cheney is a lawyer, too. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I got plenty of lawyer friends that are on there. But I'm pretty sure one of the things you learn in law school is you cannot communicate with a witness without the lawyer's knowledge. If any of my lawyer friends are out there and I'm wrong, correct me, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that that's taught in law school. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know. I didn't go to law school. I don't know. But Liz Cheney, being a lawyer, even if that wasn't taught in law school, should know this. So there's no claim of ignorance on this part. So she's knowingly tampering with a witness. Okay? Now, Cheney also played a prominent role in Miss Hutchinson actually firing her attorney, Mr. Passantino. And now remember, he's free. He's doing this all pro bono. He's not taking any money. Miss Cheney actually goes as far as even giving her a list of attorneys that would actually go ahead and do it for free as well. Okay, and all these attorneys are going to help her build the narrative around the Select Committee's story, all about President Trump being the bad guy. Okay, so all this is being driven towards bad orange man. So that's what's going on right here. See, Mr. Passantino, being a friend of Trump's friends, he might also be President Trump's friend too. I don't know that yet. He's obviously not going to direct Miss Hutchinson to make up lies and call President Trump out for things he did not do. So what does Miss Cheney have to do, Representative Cheney? She has to get involved now. She has to say, listen, what we need you to do, Miss Hutchinson, is we need you to drop your lawyer. I understand he's free, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a list of other lawyers that I know that'll also work for free. And we'll go ahead and they'll help us construct that narrative that we're going for. All right? Now, when they have these interviews, the first two were pretty normal. 3 and 4 are different. Okay? Nearly every interview that the Select Committee conducts includes approximately a dozen people. Okay? As the committee staff members, the committee counsel, often a member of the Select Committee itself, the interviewee, and the interviewee's legal counsel. Okay, so it's about 12 people. All right? It's also done in a large conference room, or if they can't do a large conference room, they'll do it over Zoom, allowing space for all participants to be there and interact, listen, and participate. Okay? Now, in the 4th transcribed interview, there were only 4 people present. Representative Cheney, 1 attorney from the Select Committee, Miss Hutchinson herself, and Miss Hutchinson's new counsel. Okay? Now, as far as the place, it's not a large room. they actually went away to Representative Cheney private hideaway inside the Capitol building. Yeah, so not in some big place where you could fit 12 people. They're in this little room. It's a private hideaway of Representative Cheney, and they do this fourth interview there, basically in private. Now, of course, Ms. Hutchinson's attorney's there, but Ms. Hutchinson's attorney was actually directed to Ms. Hutchinson by Ms. Cheney. Okay, so that's why this is all kosher now. Okay. Now, later on, the subcommittee, by Chairman Loudermilk, they reach out to the FBI requesting Hutchinson's FD 302. Now, what that is, that's a report used by agents to summarize and record information from interviews. All right, so that's what that does. It's the FBI agents use this report to summarize and record the information they've done in their interviews. Okay. And the FBI, up until that point of this request, up until the point of this report, still had not responded to the request. Okay. Now, what they did, Chairman Loudermilk and the subcommittee, they looked at all this new information and all these claims of Miss Hutchinson, and they disproved 8 of her most sensational claims. Now, there's a lot more she lied about. But what they did was just took the 8 that were most outstanding and went ahead and disproved these ones. Okay? The first one they did was President Trump did not attack a Secret Service detail anytime on January 6th. We've already talked about that. There was no pre-planned, off-the-record move to the Capitol in days leading up to January 6th. Okay, so what that says is they weren't planning to go ahead up to the Capitol. President Trump wasn't planning to have a riot or have a bunch of people enter the Capitol building. That wasn't going to happen. Okay? There's no evidence that President Trump agreed with rioters chanting "Hang Mike Pence." He didn't agree with that. There's no evidence that he did. Cassidy Hutchinson falsely claimed to have drafted a handwritten note for President Trump on January 6th, which was disproven by simply looking at her handwriting and looking at the handwriting in a letter saying she wrote this, but when you look at the 2 handwritings, they even had a handwriting expert come in and easily disprove that. When you look at the handwriting differences and they have it in the report, it's clearly different. It might as well be my handwriting and my wife's. I mean, it's that different. Okay? It's not even close. Like, you could have a 6-year-old come in and go, no. President Trump did not have intelligence indicating violence on the morning of January 6th. So he had no clue. So if there was any pre-planned violence, President Trump had no information on it. No matter what they say, he had no information about anything being pre-planned for January 6th. Cassidy Hutchinson lied about the classification status of the documents to disparage Mark Meadows. So basically, telling him that things are top secret or whatever, and they definitely didn't have that classification. Representative Cheney and Cassidy Hutchinson attempted to disbar Stephen Passantino. So after Mr. Passantino did this for free, Representative Cheney and Cassidy Hutchinson went after Mr. Passantino and tried to have him disbarred. You want to talk about low, but it shouldn't surprise you from the loony left. It shouldn't surprise you from that socialist Marxist Communist Party that would actually try to have a lawyer disbarred for doing the right thing. Not just doing the right thing, but doing it for free. Right? It just shows you exactly who they are in case you decided, if you didn't know quite yet. All right? And lastly, finding number 8, Cassidy Hutchinson misrepresented President Trump's actions at Lafayette Square Park in the summer of 2020. So obviously she said some things there that were outright lies and obviously disproven. All you got to do is pull up transcript of what the president said, and this woman's not very smart. Representative Cheney, as smart as she is, she's not being very smart here. right? I think she had a God complex. Like she's the vice chair of this committee, which she really wasn't allowed to be the vice chair of the committee at all. That's a whole other House rule they broke there. But you know, Nancy Pelosi really didn't give a crap about anybody. She was going to do what she wants. You have Nancy Pelosi, who's like a god, has a god complex. You have Liz Cheney, who's like she's a demigod. So why would they care about the rules? Okay. Now, in addition to deleting data, the Select Committee effectively concealed many vital interviews from subsequent congressional committees. All right. How did they do this? What they did was they would send them to the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, instead of archiving those transcripts with the clerk of House as mandated by House rules. So really what's supposed to happen is the transcripts and all information, documents, things like that, videos, whatever they have, is actually supposed to be archived with the clerk of records. And then it stays in the clerk of records for 4 years, and then it goes on to NARA, which is National Archives and Records Administration. Okay? But instead, they decided to put everything in the hands of places like the Department of Homeland Security, FBI, and places like that. And we're going to tell you why here in just a second. The Select Committee also deleted its copies of those transcripts. So Vice Chair Representative Cheney is now destroying evidence. Not only hiding evidence, encrypting evidence, but destroying evidence. Okay? Now, it took several months for them to recover those copies from DHS. And when they did get them, there were a lot of them were either incomplete or contained significant redactions. For any of you guys that haven't seen a redacted report from any sort of government agency, you'll get a word or a phrase or a sentence or 2 sentences, and then the rest of it's blacked out and you can't read it. Sometimes you're only going to get 2 or 3 words on a page. So when it says it was significantly redacted, I can't imagine how much stuff was actually taken out and they couldn't read it, right? Now, they did happen to recover 17 transcribed interviews that the Select Committee failed to archive, which is, again, another clear violation of House rules, because they're supposed to archive every single transaction, every single interview, every single video, all that stuff is supposed to be archived. But yet, these 17 transcribed interviews somehow were not archived, okay? They happened to get their hands on them, and many of these transcripts directly refute the narrative being told by the Select Committee. In other words, Trump wasn't responsible for January 6th. Okay? So, now all these papers that went to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, who signed them to put them there? Representative Cheney. Okay? And then what that does is, now that puts the onus of DHS to transmit these documents to NARA, National Archive and Records Administration. Okay? Now here's the problem. The DHS cannot transcribe House documents on behalf of the House. So that means those documents can't get from DHS to NARA. Not like the clerk of records. There's laws, there's rules, and everything else like that. Now, Representative Cheney has been a representative for a while now. She knows the House rules. She knows the House law. She knows all this. So that, again, she's now hiding evidence again, on top of not archiving others and destroying others. All these moves are calculated. Not all of them are smart, but it's very, very calculated. So DHS can't transmit these House documents over to NARA. They're just going to get lost in the shuffle now. That's all that's happening, right? Now, HBO, the home box office, the channel that, you can stream or you can get on cable or whatever, that channel. In 2022, HBO Incorporated released a documentary film entitled Pelosi in the House. Obviously, it's about following Nancy Pelosi around, okay? Now, on 2 different occasions, Loudermilk requested videos from them, because when they were doing it, it was during January 6th, so there's a lot of stuff that was going on. There's a lot of videos and data and stuff like that they could grab from HBO that obviously maybe was hidden or destroyed or not processed or whatever the case may be with the Select Committee. So on May 23rd, 2024, they made their first request. And just a few weeks later, on June 6th, 2024, HBO produced 41 video files to the subcommittee. So they got a little bit. They're like, okay, good. So they made another request for all raw, unedited footage. So apparently the footage that HBO sent was the edited videos and things like that they got. And again, you know, subcommittee didn't ask for raw unedited. So this time they said, great, HBO's helping us out. So this time we're going to ask for the raw unedited versions. Okay. August 23rd, 2024, HBO produced 27 additional files. Okay. One clip that a lot of us have heard about, while being evacuated from the Capitol, Speaker Pelosi actually takes responsibility for the lack of security at the U.S. Capitol. Okay. She's talking to her chief of staff, Terry McCollum, and she admits that they bear responsibility for not having adequate security measures established, specifically the National Guard, during January 6th. This was videotaped by her daughter. Okay, so her daughter's running her little camera going, taking videos, because all this stuff's going on January 6th, and Speaker Pelosi's thinking she's going to die or whatever, you know, because, you know, there's people touring the Capitol building, okay? And she's talking to her chief of staff, and she's like, look, we're responsible for not having security here, and especially the National Guard. This is on us. So this is now part of the HBO video files that Chairman Loudermilk has. And a lot of us social educators, we've seen this video, we've heard about it at the very least. But in case you guys were wondering, this is where the video came from. It's actually from Chairman Loudermilk requesting the raw and edited videos from HBO during that time. Okay. So right there, they built a great case against Representative Cheney. Again, there's still, you have to do your work. You have to go all in. You have to make sure that all your ducks are in a row. I'm sure there's much more evidence there, and I didn't speak on everything. Obviously, there's a lot more that I didn't go over. But you can see that they're building a case against Representative Liz Cheney. Okay. But if we go back to what MSN reporter Lisa Mascaro said, they're intentionally disregards the truth and the select committee's tremendous weight of evidence. So what are we seeing? This tremendous weight of evidence, Miss Mascaro? It's called BS. It's full of a bunch of lies. It's full of a bunch of cover-ups. It's full of a bunch of destroyed evidence. So Miss Mascaro, being the reporter you are, being a paid reporter, doing this as a career, maybe you'll get facts. If you don't know how to get the facts, look me up. It's Mike Duckerberg, just the guy. I'll help you get facts. That's what I do. Don't you worry. I only charge you like 10% of your salary. I'll help you out there, okay? So you can actually be a real reporter. All right? Now, last part we're going to go over are DOD findings, which is the Department of Defense. Okay? There are 6 different findings that they found when they looked into the Department of Defense. Finding number 1, we're not going to go over them all. Finding number 1 is the Acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, dismissed President Trump's January 3rd, 2021 order to use any and all military assets necessary to ensure safety for the planned demonstrations for January 6th. So what does that mean? It says, listen, Mr. Miller, this is President Trump speaking. Mr. Miller, listen. January 6th, you know I'm going to have a rally. You know people are unhappy. You know there's been possible cheating. So I would like to have any and all military there to make sure that this doesn't get out of control. I don't want anybody getting hurt. I don't want people to riot. I don't want these things to happen. And this was said on January 3rd. And yet, that was dismissed by Acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller. Okay? Number 2, Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy. He intentionally delayed the D.C. National Guard response to the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Now, although approved by the Secretary of Defense at 3:04 p.m., Secretary McCarthy delayed and failed to communicate deployment orders to the commanding general of the DC National Guard. Okay, so at 3:04 p.m., they're like, look, we really need these guys down here. And they intentionally delayed it. Okay. Finding number 3. At 3:18 p.m. on January 6, 2021, Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy deliberately deceives congressional leaders by stating that the DC National Guard were physically moving to the Capitol. So he's saying at 3:18, the DC National Guard is on its way to the Capitol, guys, with full knowledge these forces have not even received any orders. Okay, false statements contributed to decisions made by congressional leaders regarding security response to the Capitol. Now, the DC National Guard is only 2 miles away from the Capitol building. So if he's saying at 3:18 p.m., don't worry, guys, the National Guard is on its way. They'll be here shortly. We're good. Obviously, that's going to be a decision now congressional leaders are going to be making because they think that the National Guard is en route and they're only 2 miles away. So it shouldn't be much longer before they get here. So going on the premise of that, they're making decisions based off of that. But obviously they're not on the way, so the decisions that they were making were going to be wrong. Okay, because if they knew that they were not on the way, I'm sure the decisions that they made would have been much different. Okay, that's what finding number 3 is saying. Finding number 4, and we'll go into this one a little bit more. The Department of Defense Inspector General published a flawed report that contains fabricated information, ignores crucial information, and fails to interview key individuals, and appears to have collaborated with the DoD to portray a false narrative. We'll go over that again. We're going to go into more detail with that, so I'm not going to read it over. Finding number 5. DoD and DoD IG knowingly and inaccurately placed blame on the DC National Guard leadership for the delayed DoD response, which is pretty close to what the other findings are saying, but now they're just saying that both the Department of Defense and the Department of Defense Inspector General both together inaccurately placed the blame. All right. And finding number 6, the last finding, we'll go over this a little bit in detail as well. The Department of Defense Inspector General was not responsible to the subcommittee's requests and at times obstructed subcommittee's work. Now, the subcommittee had detected inappropriate close relationships between the DoD Inspector General and the DoD, which compromises the IG's ability to conduct objective oversight. Because the Inspector General of the Department of Defense is supposed to work separate from the Department of Defense, because if he's working along with them, then obviously the information that he's going to give is going to be skewed and partial. Right, so they shouldn't be working together like that. So, let's go back to finding number 4. Finding number 4 is the Department of Defense Inspector General published a flawed report. Okay. Now, on November 16th, 2021, the DoD publishes its report number 202-039. Okay, this one was called Review of the DoD's Role, Responsibilities, and Actions to Prepare for and Respond to the protest and its aftermath at the U.S. Capitol campus on January 6, 2021. It contains factual inaccuracies. Some of them that are inaccurate are the DoD and the DoD IG and the Biden administration possessed information that exonerated President Trump. So they actually had information that they withheld and did not release. The Department of Defense, the Department of Defense Inspector General, and the Biden administration that exonerated President Trump, saying he's not guilty of anything that you're saying, guys. He's innocent of all this. But they held on to that information. Okay? And the DoD IG report claims that Secretary McCarthy called Major Walker at 3:05 p.m. on January 6, 2021. We already discussed a couple of them. Some of the findings, they kind of all overlap a little bit. But this one here directly says, as well as some of the others, that Secretary McCarthy called Major General Walker from the National Guard at 3:05 p.m. on January 6, 2021 to go. Now, the Army leadership issued the go order to General Walker at 5:08 p.m. So they're saying, we call him at 3:05 p.m. Major General Walker said he didn't get the go order until 5:08 p.m. Guess who's telling the truth? It's not the Biden administration, the DOD or DODIG. It's Major General Walker. Okay. And that's a 2-star general, guys. If you don't remember, be my little general, right? All right. I know we're going long, but just bear with me. Finding number 6, we're going to stop here today. On February 29, 2024, Chairman Loudermilk submitted a letter to the DOD Inspector General by the name of Robert Storch, who's the Inspector General now, requesting an unredacted version of that report, DODIG 2022039. Okay. So this is February 24th. April 2nd, so a couple days later, the DODIG replied, or about a month later, replied stating that it could not support Chairman Loudermilk's request. So it took them over a month to respond and say, you know what? Can't do it. Sorry, boss. Now here's the reasoning. They said it was inappropriate and could not be released outside the executive branch under the direction of the Department of Army and the FBI. So what they're saying is, look, I know you're a committee, you're investigating all this, but because you're Congress, you're part of the legislative branch, you're not part of the executive branch, we cannot release this information outside the executive branch because of the Department of Army and the FBI. I smell BS there, because the congressional legislative branch is the one that does the investigations and creates the laws and sets the budget and all this stuff. So when they're doing an investigation, I'm pretty damn sure that they're entitled to the information. Okay. But June 13th, so we're a couple months later, the DODIG does finally agree to the subcommittee to conduct what's called an in-camera review of minimally redacted witness transcripts. So now, April they said they couldn't do it. June they're like, yep, well, I guess we can. We'll do a minimally redacted, but we're not going to have everybody just sit in a room. We're going to do what's called an in-camera review. Okay. So through this in-camera review, even though it was very limited and very tense situation because they can only look at certain things for a certain amount of time and all kinds of other stuff, and only certain people allowed in there, all kinds of rules for this. They did confirm suspicions that the DODIG failed to conduct a thorough investigation and withheld certain witness interview transcript. Now, I didn't say which interview transcript it was, but they did figure out that there was a certain interview transcript that was withheld, as well as not conducting a thorough investigation. All right. So now we're going to bump ahead another month to July 2nd. The DOD Office of General Counsel, coordinating with the DODIG now, agreed to provide the subcommittee, instead of minimally redacted, with lightly redacted versions of the witness transcripts by July 14th. So like, okay, listen, we minimally redacted it, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and now we're going to lightly redact it. And this is in 2 weeks from July 2nd to July 14th. We will have all this stuff ready to go for you. Well, July 14th comes. What happens? No papers. The DODIG does not provide the lightly redacted information that they requested. Now, the reasoning here, they said due to interagency equities, they could not do it. And Chairman Loudermilk says, to this day, the subcommittee still doesn't understand what the hell that means. Interagency equities. Like they just threw 2 words together and just hope for the best, right? Just throw some spaghetti against the wall, whatever sticks, that's what we're calling it, right? So that's where they're at. Like even the subcommittee and Chairman Loudermilk are like, are we speaking English? I don't understand what you're saying. Okay. So finally, August 21st, 2024, all 43 DODIG witness statements were given. Okay. Now this contained 2 new revelations. All right. 1, senior Pentagon officials dismissed President Trump's directive to ensure safety for the demonstrations on January 6th, which they kind of knew, but now it's just being reinforced here, all right? And they intentionally delayed deployment of the DC National Guard due to concerns over optics. So we already knew that. We already knew that the National Guard was being delayed, and nobody knew why. But this report actually now tells them why. It was being delayed over concerns of optics. They didn't want to have a certain look. What that look is, I don't know. But there was a certain look that the DOD and everybody didn't want to portray. So that's what the cause for the delay was. Not the people's safety. You know, again, we've seen the Communist Socialist Marxist Party spit on you guys time and time again. They're not concerned about your safety. They're not concerned about your lives. They're not concerned about any of that. They let how many illegal aliens in here? How many criminals? Over 16,000 convicted murderers and another couple thousand more that are waiting for murder. Over 16,000 sexual assaultists and pedophiles, and thousands more waiting to go on trial. Over 500,000 criminals they let into this country illegally, knowingly. They don't care about your life, guys. Why would they care about it in this situation? They're concerned about optics. They're concerned about how stuff looks. That's their concern, right? Now, with that being said, it's the last thing I'm going to go over before we're done. We just had a report released from the FBI IG Michael Horowitz on the January 6th FBI stuff, where they said that, yes, we did have X amount of agents there. None of them were there undercover. There were only 3 there that were actually sent there. The rest of them were on their own volition, right? So knowing that the DOD IG, Robert Storch, whatever his name is, out and out lied, covered up, and worked with the DOD. When you read that FBI IG report from Michael Horowitz, keep that in mind. He might be working with the FBI as well to cover up a lot of stuff. But once Pete Hegseth gets in there, once Kash Patel gets in there, and everybody else gets in there, I guarantee we're going to see a bunch of other stuff come up. All right? That's it for today. I don't want to go on. There's more. I just want to do a nice deep dive for everybody so that way you fully understand what's going on and why they're going after Representative Liz Cheney so hard. They should be going after Cassidy Hutchinson as well. Again, what I want you to do, put in the comments, she's innocent until proven guilty, guys. She hasn't been proven guilty yet. She may not be. But based on the evidence here today, if you were sitting in that jury, would you convict Representative Liz Cheney for destroying evidence and witness tampering? Let me know. I want to know. And keep on doing what you're doing. Keep being those awesome social educators that you are. I'm going to keep feeding you the information, keep feeding you facts, so you guys can go out, keep America great again. Head on over to Rumble at Just a Guy Mike D, YouTube at Just a Guy. Like and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, share. Until I see you again. This is Mike Zuckerberg, out.